Over the course of YouTube's growth, from the first video being posted in 2005 to the present day, we've seen it shape and change from very broad forms of expression to a very centralized form of content creation. This streamlined way of making content has allowed content creators to gain hundreds of thousands of views and subscribers. One huge downside to this is that YouTube has started to feel soulless, but why exactly is that, and is there any way to revert it before YouTube permanently changes? This is why YouTube feels soulless now. At the beginning of YouTube, it was marketed as a place that anyone could start posting. This meant that people who were never previously into editing, scripting, or filmmaking were getting into YouTube. Early on, this created a very human or unedited feel to videos because people were posting whatever they wanted to and were just figuring out how to use this brand new platform. Nobody was a master at it, and even if they were coming from previous social media apps, YouTube was very different and they had to learn how to adapt. And what you have to think about is that if you wanted to post content to YouTube today or start a new channel, the first place you would probably go is YouTube. And in those early days, there was hardly any videos on how to actually become a YouTuber or start making videos. Even though there were some videos on how to start a channel or how to edit, time had not really shown who was the most successful and whose opinion could be trusted. The second thing that contributed to the progression of videos on YouTube was the slow decline of cable TV in the late 2010s. People started to view YouTube similar to Netflix, and they saw that these other streaming platforms were often better options. Since people who normally enjoyed reality TV started to dislike the often fake episodes, they shifted and focused their attention on YouTube. This contributed to the rise of vlog YouTubers in the early days of YouTube. Casey Neistat, one of the most popular early vloggers, actually pioneered different editing styles alongside music and different camera angles, which pushed the vlogging genre to evolve and change. The fact that YouTube was also free compared to these cable TV subscriptions meant that people had even more of a reason to watch, because even with cable TV, you were still getting ads. And so for YouTube to be free with ads and have so much content on it, even in the early days, people just saw it as such a good opportunity to spend their time. In 2018, the rise of TikTok meant that other viewers who were sharing similar interests between TikTok and YouTube had changed. The rise of short-form content meant that people who enjoyed TikTok and YouTube often had a shorter attention span. This meant that channels in a genre like gaming went from posting 1 hour unedited gameplays to having to post the best moments or only the highlights of a game. This was because since people's attention spans were lower, people wanted to only watch the best moments from their favorite videos. Also, with the rise of short-form content, since 1 hour unedited videos started to reduce, it was harder for creators to create a personal connection between themselves and the audience, since they had to worry about the viewer clicking off of their video. Alongside this time period, YouTube also saw a rise in the number of documentary-style channels. This was because as the YouTube algorithm shifted and changed from mainly focusing on views to watch time, documentary channels were able to flourish. However, since viewers' attention spans were much lower, this meant that documentary-style channels had to emphasize and use hooks in their editing to keep the viewer engaged. Channels started to use animated graphics, music, and even sound effects to be able to hold the viewer's attention on them and gain the most watch time. And as YouTube started to gain even more popularity, there was an increase in those wanting to post. And what this did was it meant that only the fittest, or those who could hold the viewer's attention most, were going to flourish on the platform. People could not get by with just posting whatever they wanted, And this meant that people often sacrificed what they wanted to post themselves and what they wanted to create for what their audience wanted to watch. And from this, there was pressure amongst different genres to compete against those who were learning the skills of editing, music, filmmaking, and scripting so that they could stand out and gain some of the views as well. Another problem with YouTube and the current state of media overall is that there are too many options. And so humans' brains get overloaded, and so they can't figure out which content to watch. And so therefore, they will think that all of the content that they are seeing is low quality, or it just feels like it's shoved in their face because they are paralyzed with how many choices they can make. Another factor that could contribute to this change in YouTube was the rise of live streaming. Twitch, Kick, and before its end, Mixer all became popular live streaming platforms, and those streamers would post their clips to their YouTube channels. And since a lot of times these live streamers were going for shock value, often with celebrities, it created a less personalized feel to YouTube because the mainstream and somewhat Hollywood celebrities were being brought to the platform. And often it wasn't a very personal connection that was being shared on those live streams, which meant that the viewers on YouTube also noticed that lack of personality or human feel. Now, for whether there is a way to go back to the way that YouTube was, and what I'll say about that is that there are still content creators who are creating content that feels very personalized. They are sharing stories from their life, or they are giving advice, or just documenting their progression in their lives. And it has a very human and soul feel to it. It's just that you haven't really dug enough to find that content. So I think that yes, YouTube has changed. People have gotten better at editing, scripting, and filmmaking. But if you want a very personalized and soul and human feel to videos, then there are videos that you can find from creators who are going for that type of style. It's basically just up to you and whether you can do enough digging and find the content creators that you are looking for.